The farewell of NASA's Pilgrim tests was like the start of an amazing journey into space. It illustrated that we can watch out for Earth also as all that in our close-by planet bunch. What's more, past even following 46 years, these grand space mechanical assembly are still giving researchers new and stunning data about space. Despite the fact that their memory is 3 million times more modest than that of our phones and their speed is multiple times more slow than our quickest 5G web association, these mind-boggling tests actually lead the way in investigating space. Now, Wayfarer 1 has just made an unimaginable revelation in interstellar space, one that difficulties all that we expected we knew about the universe. It found something so intriguing that researchers are left scratching their heads. But what precisely did it find, and how can it rethink our comprehension of the universe? On an extraordinary day, September 5, 1977, from a spot called Cape Canaveral in Florida, something surprising happened. Adventurer 1 started its excursion into space, shipped off by Areas of Strength for a called Titan II. Just 15 days after the fact, on August 20, 1977, Wayfarer 2 participated in Start its experience into the universe. Their fundamental work was to analyze the enormous gas planets in our planetary gathering, like Jupiter and Saturn, and the moons around them. But think about what these space explorers went a long ways past. They went way out into our immense planetary group, breaking loads of records on their unimaginably extended trip. They've been going longer than some other space device ever, and they've gone farther from Earth than anything people have made before. They even went into a spot called interstellar space, which is like going into something else entirely of our framework that nobody investigated before. These space pioneers, Pilgrim 1 and Pilgrim 2, are in excess of 12 billion miles from us currently. Still, they keep on astonishing researchers with the amazing things they're finding out there. And they've as of late found something so surprising that nobody saw it coming. The Adventurer twin tests have done some great stuff. Throughout quite a long time back, they looked at the moons of Jupiter and Saturn and totally flabbergasted researchers. People used to think these moons were drilling and brimming with openings like our moon. However, clearly not. They're humming with movement. Pioneer 2 was the first of the twins to drop by Uranus in 1986, and only 3 years after the fact it zoomed past Neptune. However, here's the intriguing part. The main rocket has ever done that. As these rockets push forward on their astounding excursion, NASA is doing a few stunts to guarantee they continue to work. They turned off specific things they didn't require, like additional parts and radiators, to save power. That way, these rockets would have the option to press ahead until no less than 2030. For the researchers and specialists who've been part of this unbelievable experience from the earliest reference point, it's a blend of blissful and miserable sentiments. They tried sincerely, and now when they thought the Voyager permissions were almost done, an astounding disclosure arose out of space. The data sent back by Voyager 1 and its twin transport has become a mother lode for researchers. They lighted bunches of revelations and got individuals amped up for space. These are 2 transports that were fabricated extra cautiously like stable stages so they could take clear pictures and assemble information while zooming through space. Even before they came to the external planets, their photographs were already taking researchers' breath away. Wayfarer 1 began sending pictures of Jupiter, although it was still far away from the planet. Individuals at NASA's Stream Impetus Research Center got energized at the point when they saw the main pictures of Jupiter's twirling mists and the well-known incredible red spot. Anyway, the critical second came when the travelers found something astounding on Jupiter's moon, Io. This moon, without a doubt greater than Earth's moon, ended up being the most dynamic fountain of liquid magma in our whole close-by planet bunch. Adventurer 1's instruments got unusual signs from Io, and the photos they took showed monstrous volcanic emissions and stuff flying out into space. One of Io's volcanoes, called Pell, emitted greatly higher than even Mount Everest and covered a region almost as large as France. The pioneers, combined, took in excess of 33,000 pictures of Jupiter and its moons. They showed how staggering Jupiter is and all the various scenes on its moons. Another enormous astonishment was figuring out Jupiter has rings. Despite the fact that they're not extremely splendid, this disclosure made Jupiter even more intriguing. Likewise, Pilgrim 2 found that Europa, one of Jupiter's 53 moons, has a thick ice shell in excess of 60 miles thick. These disclosures made researchers reconsider their thought process about these far-off objects in space and got them inquisitive about whether icy moons like Europa could be spots where life could exist. As the travelers left Jupiter, they got a lift from the planet's gravity that acted like areas of strength sending them towards Saturn. This kick was particularly critical on the grounds that it assisted them with breaking liberated from the sun's pull and continue to go into space. Pilgrim 1 and Pioneer 2 went their ways later, making a beeline for new spots. Voyager 1 drew near to Saturn's moon, Titan, which has a sort of orange cloudiness around it. Researchers became inquisitive about Titan's privileged insights, so they concentrated on its muddled science. Then, Traveler 1 dismissed from different planets and began going past our planetary group. On the other hand, Adventurer 2 made some astonishing endeavors excessively. In 1986, it flew by Uranus and tracked down 10 new moons, adding to the all-out count. 3 years after the fact, it arrived at Neptune, showing us the astonishing things about this distant ice Goliath. Adventurer 2 even estimated breezes on Neptune going as quick as 1,000 miles per hour, the quickest ever on a planet in our sun-powered framework. When the bus drew near to Neptune just 2,980 miles away, it gave us new and staggering bits of knowledge about this far-off world. Neptune's greatest moon, Triton, ended up being one of the coldest spots in our planetary group, with temperatures decreasing to a freezing under 391 degrees. Triton additionally had these cool ice volcanoes that shot out nitrogen gas and frigid stuff into its meager air. These disclosures caused us to understand how extraordinary and interesting the planets and moons in our planetary group can be. Indeed, even the farthest ones. Envision a space experience story, and one individual who had a huge effect in moving it along was the well-known cosmologist Carl Schon. He was part of the group that took pictures for the Adventure mission, and he needed to snap one final arrangement of pictures, previously turning off the cameras. These photographs would resemble an exceptional gift for everybody on Earth. A last glance at our home from way out in space. Schon didn't surrender, and it took care of on Valentine's Day in 1990. Adventurer 1 turned its camera back towards the interplanetary gathering and took 60 pictures. The most famous one, known as the light blue spot, was taken from 3.8 billion miles away, making it the farthest image of our planet of all time. Taken in the photo, Earth looks minuscule, like a light blue dab in the immense space around it. Even following 40 years, these transports are still out there sending us significant data from the farthest portions of space. Now, we should discuss something a bit outdated. The Wayfarer tests utilize an old 8-track framework. Yes, you heard it right, 8-track tapes were a serious deal during the 70s, and these tests are as yet shaking them. It just shows how brilliant individuals who arranged this mission were, ensuring these old tapes may as yet take care of business. But why 8-track tapes, you might wonder? Well, that's a story worth hearing. In the start of investigating space, the sort of computerized capacity we use today was simply beginning. So they required something intense, furthermore, dependable to store significant information, and those 8-track tapes ended up being the ideal decision. What's considerably more intriguing is that the information on these tapes isn't simply common music. It's important science information about planets, moons, and space between the stars. Yes, these tapes hold the responses to some of the greatest secrets known to man. Now, contemplate this. The Pioneer transports face insane things like limit hot and cold temperatures, space radiation, and the void of room. Obviously, these old explorers proceed to areas of strength. It's like sending your grandparents on an undertaking in Antarctica. And in addition to the fact that they make do, they flourish. The Adventurer missions had this astounding move called gravity help moves. Consider it like this: Adventurer 1 and Voyager 2, two intense space trailblazers, were on a major mission to investigate the way out in our planetary gathering. To move to these far-off places and assemble significant data, they required a little assistance. Something other than their motors. Here's where gravity helps come in, and it's sort of like a space dance. Rather than simply utilizing their motors, these rockets did this cool divine hit the dance floor with a portion of the planetary gathering's large planets. They utilized areas of strength for a portion of these monsters to slingshot themselves forward, saving fuel and getting the speed they needed to visit bunches of better places. Gravity helps, otherwise called gravitational slingshots, are about getting some speed from a planet as the transport goes by. Envision Wayfarer 1 swinging up to Jupiter, a gigantic gas Goliath with a draw to match its size. The research focus ensured Pioneer 1 passed Jupiter at the ideal point. Furthermore, speed. Jupiter's gravity pulled at the space, making it go speedier, like a space power-up. But here's the intriguing part. There's a workmanship to this move. If Adventurer 1 had drawn closer to Jupiter the incorrect way, it could have been a space calamity, sending the space mechanical assembly way misguided. Fortunately, the NASA experts aced it, and the significant heavenly hit the dance floor with the planets was a big achievement. The level of accuracy required is magnificent. But guess what? The shrewd scientists and planners who arranged this grandiose dance didn't simply take care of business once. However, ordinarily. Because of these gravity helps, Pioneer 1 and Pioneer 2 went on this surprising excursion through the close-by planet bunch. Adventurer 2, for instance, utilized supports from Jupiter and Saturn to zoom to Uranus and Neptune. These space moves assumed a huge part in getting the extraordinary visit doing without these slingshot moves. The Adventurer mission proved unable to have potentially been essentially as astonishing as they were. Pioneer 1 made it to interstellar space, and Voyager 2 wasn't a long ways behind. In view of the monstrously exact gravity helps they got, the thought behind gravity helps is simple. However, getting it rolling is muddled. Wayfarer 2000 visit required a ton of accuracy. Accepting they missed any of those lifts, the entire mission could have turned out badly. However, individuals making do everything were exceptionally capable to get all the data they could. Endeavors by specialists and space specialists to completely grasp the idea of gravity help drove them to uncovering something even more contemptible about the dim expansiveness of space. The Profound Space Organization (DSN). Even though the Wayfarer missions use gravity help moves to investigate space, there's another significant thing that made everything work. The Profound Space Organization (DSN). Think of it as like a space phone line that kept us talking with our bold Wayfarer tests as they went into the obscure. Now, what precisely is the Profound Space Organization? It's not generally so flashy as a space transport. However, it's basic. The DSN is like an enormous organization of radio receiving wires in different areas of the planet, like California, Spain, and Australia. These Goliath dishes, some as large as 70 m across, carry on like space enhancers, helping us with bantering with rockets that are somewhere far away from here. The Pioneer tests, with every one of their cameras and sensors, were our eyes and ears in space. To comprehend the information they sent back and guide them, we wanted a solid correspondence framework, and that's where the DSN came in. Envision this, Pioneer 1 making a beeline to the outer pieces of our close-by planet bunch. Communicates a message back to Earth. It's a powerless sign moving uncommonly quick through space. When it arrives at Earth, it's truly powerless. However, the DSN's tremendous radio receiving wires are prepared to get that frail sign. They lock onto Adventurer's murmur and transform it into information that researchers can utilize. The DSN doesn't simply get signals. It likewise sends orders. You see, missions like Adventurer are continually changing. Researchers and engineers need to change their arrangements or educate the space mechanical assembly. They send these orders through the DSN, shooting them into space to reach Voyager. It's like a two-way talk among Earth and the farthest human-made things in space. Something heavenly about the DSN is that it works continually, day in and day out, consistently tuning in for those distant signs. The Profound Space Organization resembles our space administrator. Not simply a lot of receiving wires, it keeps the tails of the Adventurer missions going. Even as the space mechanical assembly goes a long way beyond our sun-based framework, investigating the obscure terrains of interstellar space. Interstellar space is a piece more straightforward to reach than the far end of our planetary gathering. Imagine the sun-based framework as an inflatable with a cloudiness of comet-like things far away held together by the sun's gravity. This cloud may stretch most of the way to the nearest star. It will take the Wayfarer tests about 300 extra years to draw near to its edge. Now, when we discuss interstellar space, it starts where the sun-based breeze, a flood of charged particles and attractive fields from the sun, closes. The sun-based breeze behaves like an enlarging inflatable, shaping something called the heliosphere. This is like a protective air pocket around the close-by planet bunch conveyed by the sun-based breeze. In the long run, This air pocket gets compacted by tension from interstellar matter, shaping a limit called the end shock. The line between our close-by-plan bunch and interstellar space is known as the heliopause. Estimated to be really a distance away quite a long time ago, some hypotheses put it as close as Jupiter. However, more exact computations in 1993 stated it's multiple times the distance from Earth to the Sun. Adventurer 1 came to this limit about 20 years later. These assessments recognizing an ascent in plasma thickness. Now, Adventurer 2 came to the interstellar sea in 2018. Yet, it saw no progressions in the attractive field. This was amazing, as speculations anticipated changes attached to the Sun's 11-year cycle. The Sun-based breeze was most grounded when Adventurer 2 showed up, testing these expectations. As the Voyagers give genuine information, researchers are refining their models of how the heliosphere communicates with interstellar space. In straightforward terms, our Sun left us a warm ionized zone and entered a somewhat ionized part of the world. The hot zone,